All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. This is Councilwoman Mai Vang. Thank you so much for joining us live in the Heart and Hustle studio, where we host lively chats once a month, 1 or 2 times a month. Just to let you all know, we are live right now on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So really excited if you are tuning in virtually from your home, your office, wherever you're at. Really appreciate you joining us today to really close out and celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Month. I hope all of you are staying healthy and safe. And I'm super excited for this panel and this awesome live chat. As I was sharing earlier, as we close out Asian American Pacific Islander Month, I really wanted to take this opportunity to really center and uplift some of our amazing local leaders here in South Sacramento. So first, what I'll do is introduce our guests. Some of these individuals, you may have already seen them online on social media because we spotlighted some of these folks already. And if you haven't seen them, that's because it's in the queue to be going up on social media. But a few of these folks you may have already seen on social media, and some of them you may recognize or have already worked with one-on-one. And so I'm really excited for our amazing panel, 5 panelists today that will be joining me to really talk about how we can celebrate, uplift, and center Asian Americans and Pacific Islander. So first, just wanted to share, we have Asian Lee. She's a youth organizer from Hmong Innovating Politics. Mai Nguyen, the executive director from Community Partners Advocate of Little Saigon, Sacramento. Ramel D. Cleanes, Vice President of North Laguna Creek Neighborhood Association right here in District 8. Bao Moa, the incredible, fierce, bold, amazing leader at Susan B. Anthony Elementary School. She is the principal there. And James Le Toa, our community leader and advocate on the ground in the Pacific Islander community. So let's just jump right in. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Happy Wednesday. We're halfway there through the week. So I hope all of you are doing well. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. So first, I was able to go around and just, give your name and title really quick. But I wanted to ask all of you if you could share a little bit about yourself and in what capacity have you served and or organized in the local Asian American and Pacific Islander community. And with that, I will call your name and we can just go right through. So let me start with Mai Nguyen.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Councilwoman Vang. It's an honor to be here today. And my name is Mai Nguyen, and I'm the Executive Director of CPALS, which stands for Community Partners Advocates of Little Saigon, Sacramento. I've been in the community since 2008, 2009, particularly the Stockton Boulevard area. I've served and helped the Vietnamese American community in particular. My involvement has been really on the advocacy side and also connecting with resources for our Vietnamese American community, especially for those that have a language and a cultural barrier. So it's been a very rewarding journey that I've traveled, and I'm very, very honored to be a part of, the very diverse community of Sacramento. So thank you for having me here.
Awesome, Mai, and so grateful to have you here. Also, we share same name, so that's pretty awesome. Mai is a very common name in the Hmong culture, but also the Vietnamese culture as well. So really happy to have you on, Mai. Let's go to James.
Aloha and talofa. Good evening, everyone. Councilmember Mai Yang. My name is James Letoa. I've been in the community also since about 2008 in the Power Inn, the Creek neighborhood. We serve one of the largest food banks in the area. So if you're ever up and down Power Inn, we're the reason why there's always a lot of traffic. All those cars park along the road. You can blame that on us, but that's what I do, and we love serving the community.
Thank you so much, James, and thank you for all your great work in the Pacific Islander community. Really happy to have you on. Ms. Bao Moa.
Thank you, Mai. Thank you for having me on the show today. My name is Bao Moa. I've been in the community for the past 24 years, and I serve as the principal at Susan B. Anthony. I've been in many other schools, but currently I'm at Susan B. Anthony Elementary School with the Sac City Unified School District.
Awesome. And Ms. Moa, thank you so much for being here today. Just for some of y'all, you don't know where Susan B. Anthony is located. It's located in the heart of Detroit and South Sacramento. Susan B. Anthony actually has the first Hmong immersion program west of the Mississippi River as well. And Ms. Moa is our amazing fierce leader there, heading the dual immersion program. So we're so grateful for her leadership on the school and in the community. So Ms. Moa, thank you so much for being here today. All right, Romel. Please share with us, who are you and what capacity have you been serving this community?
So Ramel DeClina is Vice President of North Laguna Creek Neighborhood Association. I've lived here in the community in District 8 for 20 years. Worked with Filipino American World War II veterans to get them recognition, to try to advocate for that. Also helped my friends at PNDA for supporting the arts and some of the things that they do. And Dr. Robin Rodriguez and her work that she does at the Beluson Center at UC Davis. So anything that we can do to kind of make sure that our heritage and the AAPI community is known and understood, and whatever we can do to bring people together, right? So that's what I try to do, and try to support what's happening in our community, get people involved.
Awesome. And in addition to all the multiple hats that he mentioned, I'm just going to uplift another thing, is that he is also the vice president of the North Laguna Creek Neighborhood Association. And so, that is one of many neighborhood association in our district. And so Ramel, I just want to say thank you so much for your heart and hustle and serving DA for a really long time, because you were a planning commissioner once as well. And you wear multiple hats. So really grateful for your continued leadership in the community. Because I know you wear multiple hats, all the organizations you listed. We're incredibly blessed to have you in this community. Last but not least, Asia, one of our youngest organizer on the panel. I'm going to have her introduce herself.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Asia Lynn Lee. I also go by Asia. I use she, they pronouns, and I've been in Sacramento for 3 years now, and I've been able to serve as the youth organizer with Hmong Innovating Politics, as well as be a campaign fellow for Chinua Rhodes, who for school board, as a school board trustee, and also alongside helping with my Vang's campaign as well. And alongside all of that, I participated in student activism for also over a year now with while being at Sac State. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Asia, so excited to have you on too, because it's really about making sure we have a strong pipeline of young leaders, and you're out there blazing trails as a young leader in Sacramento, and we're so happy to have you on. So as you all heard, if you're tuning in live right now, we have an incredible panel of Asian American Pacific Islander leaders here in the South Sacramento region. Really grateful to have them all on. So let's jump to our next question. A recent survey found that 42% of people in the United States can't name one well-known Asian American, despite the historic election of our first Asian American vice president of the United States. The same survey found that a large number of Americans were unaware of the surge in anti-Asian racism, despite the survey having taken place 2 weeks after the Atlanta shooting, which left 6 Asian women dead. What are your reactions and conclusions? What are your reactions and conclusions in response to these findings? And does it make recognizing Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month even more important? And so what I'll do is I'll go around. Let's start with Ramel.
So, yeah, I mean, my first reaction to that, it was just kind of sad, right, that we still have a lot of work to do, I think, to be able to be recognized. And so I think celebrating the AAPI Heritage Month allows us to be able to tell the stories, right? People understand and get to know the community and the people if they hear the stories. And so I think it's important really for all of us to continue to tell those stories, where everybody is and how wonderful it is that they came here, and to be able to tell them what the challenges were and where to go from there. Because I think we have to be seen, right? We have to be recognized, and that's the wonderful part about celebrating this wonderful month of the AAPI Heritage Month.
Thanks, Ramel. And before I call on folks, is there anyone that wants to speak, is still in the spirit and want to speak? Ms. Baumol, you're smiling, so I'm going to ask you, what are your reactions in response to these findings, and does it make recognizing AAPI Heritage Month even more important?
Well, it's surprising, but I think it goes to show that recognizing AAPI month is super important. It's something that we need to do, and we have to start educating people about the different groups that are under that AAPI umbrella, so that we can all understand each other and support each other. So we're all working together.
Yeah. Thanks, Ms. Moore. James, any reaction or thoughts?
Yeah, in what we do, like I say, we serve food to our community, and we average between 55 to 60,000 people that come through us a month. And when the Asian situation was going on, we were a little worried. How would it impact the community? Were they afraid to come out? But being that we've established such a strong presence in the community, um, we've seen a little decline, just a lot of people afraid to come out. But we're just a little making them feel comfortable and building the trust in the community has allowed us to continue to serve our community.
Thanks, James. And Asia, what are your reactions? Just given the survey as well, as a young person in the Asian American Pacific Islander community.
Yeah, I think to start off, I was also studying this too when all the the Atlanta, Georgia shootings occurred, and I think my first response was just pretty much that I think it had a lot to do with the model minority myth, that it gives the illusion that Asians and Asian Americans are all successful, and because they've been, and excludes the histories that we have been systemically excluded, right? And so with that, it makes us invisible, and perceiving that Asian discrimination is condensed down to only Chinese Exclusion Act and Japanese internment camps when being taught in our schools. And although those are huge acts of racism, right, it also fails to elaborate on the histories of Southeast and South Asian folks immensely. And so I remember reading the Pew Research Center reporting that Asians had the highest economic divide within the racial group. And so with that being said, it almost wasn't a surprise that people didn't really know what name to call, besides maybe a couple very stereotypical celebrities. And I think another aspect to that, to kind of go off of the Atlanta, Georgia shootings, is that there's a long history of sexualization and state violence against Asian women, ranging from the wars in Asia and to our state now, when troops marry them and bring them back. And it's a very long process, and that we've not been educated. And I know that I've had to do this education myself to do my own research. And I think we've seen the struggle for justice for Asian and Asian American women. I believe there was a massage parlor ordinance introduced to the city council a while back. And from my only understanding of it, seeing the policy objective to provide resources for these Asian women is, how are they providing these resources in a way that isn't going to put them at risk if they're undocumented, right? And so the truth really becomes, where does the responsibility lie, and is the police department really the best way to help these folks, and how can we help them integrate into America, actually truly helping them, right? Not just placing them in, adding more lights and stuff, and making sure they're more seen, or having a dress code, because I think those are just band-aids. And although it takes a lot of work to really ensure that they're going to be safe, for sure we can do better, and we have to do better and ask these folks and provide them culturally competent resources as well. And so that was a big chunk of my analysis with it too. So yeah.
So awesome, Asia. And I always get so inspired when I hear you speak, and I'm just, absolutely. You're on point, and really appreciate you providing insight from what you've learned, on the ground, in the classroom, but mainly on the ground, and working side by side with community partners. So thank you so much for that insight. Mai, do you have any thoughts and reactions around the survey finding and the importance of recognizing AAPI Heritage Month even more?
Absolutely. Well, it's the first time that I've seen the statistic numbers, and for me, it was shocking to see these numbers, because for me personally, when I saw this number, I really want to personally take responsibility and get more involved and participate more from the aspect of building awareness, making more awareness of the situation. Because I know that even with the anti-Asian racism issue, it's not a lot of people are aware of that. And I think that we need to take more responsibility of bringing awareness. Even though the number of the statistic is low, but it tells you that your voice does matter. So I think we need to do a better job of getting folks to be aware of the situation and let them know that their voice does matter and we need to voice in regards to the situation. And absolutely, I think that taking this year's celebration of the AAPI Heritage Month is more important in that we recognize, the issue, not only recognizing those that has contributed so much more to our community, but it also, gives us on ways of how we can advance the vision, that vision of letting people know the meaning of AAPI heritage and that what we are not being forgotten and that what we stand for. So I think that this is a great opportunity for us to make that awareness.
Thanks, Mai. And someone had mentioned the model minority myth and also how diverse our community is. So, even in a city as diverse as Sacramento, some people may not even be aware of the different ethnicity within our Asian American Pacific Islander umbrella. So my question to all of you is, what do you wish that other communities knew about your ethnic heritage, culture, traditions, special cuisine? Is there anything that you would like to share just with the community regarding your own ethnic heritage, but just more in terms of the diversity of Asian American Pacific Islander? And so with that, I'm going to start with Ms. Balmoa because she's a principal at Susan B. Anthony. So I'm going to start this question with her first.
Okay, so thank you, Mai. I really wish with this is it was so hard for me to figure out what do I want to share because there's so much within my culture that I'd love to share, and so I'm just going to share a few things. And so I wish people really knew that we are kind and humble people, the Hmong that is, and then and that we do things as a community. For example, our weddings, our funerals, and all the many blessing ceremonies that we do in the family. We invite all the community, all of our community, and we all come together and give each other blessings. Cultural traditions, there's so many that we have that that are not even written down in books, and so. We do like what I've mentioned, we do a lot of celebrations and a lot of blessings. So we celebrate newborns, we celebrate newlyweds, we give blessings to newborns, we give blessings to newlyweds, we give blessings to the elderly, the sickly, and also, we also have a rites of passage with men in changing their names, and not many people know that. Not many people understand that. And so, they either get another name added to their own, original name that they already have, or they get a whole new different name, but two names put together. And so that is something that, I'd like to share as cultural traditions, and then also special cuisines. There's many, and a lot of you might know what I'm talking about when I say, something special. I think within the Hmong culture is boiled chicken. Just plain boiled chicken or steamed chicken, and then also that the soup. It's the boiled pork rind with mustard greens. That's something that we all look forward to. That we go and search for once in a while. And then that's boiled squash with either sugar or without sugar, and that's something that our elderly we all enjoy. And so just those are just a few to share. But there's so many things within the Hmong culture that is unique about us. And just wanted to share just those few things, but there's so many.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Moore, for sharing that. Ramel, What do you wish other Filipinos knew about your ethnic heritage?
Well, I think people are starting to see a little bit more about Filipino cuisine coming out with chefs re-innovating some of the dishes, and so it's more than lumpia and adobo. A lot of people like those things, but I think it's more than that. And I'd like people to know that a lot of the Filipinos and the heritage have been here since the very beginning of when America was founded, right? Even before then, and that understand that we're a Kang people, like Miss Moa was saying, and we're very familial and family driven, and so you'll see compassion and heart and faith and all those kind of things in the work that they do, and they do it with a lot of dignity and heart. You'll see us in the California Nurses Association, right? All the things that they do for that, and just really, I think there is that part of it. I think the other people that don't know is that the Philippines has been colonized so much by different different countries and different cultures that we have, in a sense, mixed ourselves. And even America, we've wanted to have that American dream or those kind of things. And so you'll see a lot of Filipinos, overseas workers as well, going to different parts of other countries. And when they're here, sometimes, like all new immigrants or people that have come here, they huddle together and they form the community, even if their family is back home. And they do that because of sacrifice and what they want to do for a better future. So that's the reason why I think people need to know that, and that there's not just one dialect or one language in the Filipino culture, right? There's going to be different dialects and different languages spoken, and then also they come from different parts, 7,000 islands. So don't try to think that we all are all the same, right? That we have so much to offer. There's a rainbow of different heritages and cultures. Even the dishes regionally, they change, and everybody's mom's is probably the best. So make sure you eat them all, right? Yeah, and I think we have been like the model minority, right? We need to learn how to speak out. I don't think people know sometimes that Filipinos were part of the United Farm Workers movement, right? You'll see that in our new Attorney General Rob Bonta and his family and how he talks about that. So I just encourage people to read and learn and just ask questions, right? Because that's what our community is really willing to share and tell our story as well.
Thank you, Ramel, for sharing that, and just really even sharing the diversity and beauty, even in the Filipino community, right? The different regions and food and in dialect. I think it's a reflection of the larger AAPI community as well, of just how beautiful and diverse we are, and that we're not monolithic. We're extremely complex, as all humans are, right? And so thank you so much for sharing that. Mai, what are your what do you wish that other communities knew about your ethnic heritage, cultural traditions, and special cuisines?
Yes, this is one of my favorite topics. And I'm very fortunate because I was born in central Vietnam, and then my family came here by boat in 1975. My father took my 8 children and my mom and left the country in 1975. So growing up here as a toddler, I didn't have the opportunity to experience a lot about my own culture and heritage. But I was very fortunate because after getting married, relocated to California, Sacramento, I've learned a lot about my heritage, and being involved with the Stockton Boulevard area and working on the designation name of Little Saigon, it really brought my heritage back. And so I've learned that with our rich culture, the Vietnamese American culture, we are very rich and family oriented. We're very bonded. We would live with a family of 10 people in one house, and we help each other, go through school, get a job, get married, and then you move on. And so that's really an important value in our culture. And then as far as tradition, I think that we're so artistic. And I'm wearing one of the ao dai today. Here's my ao dai, you guys. So it's a very traditional dress, and it comes, the guys do have them too. So it kind of shows you, the reason why I'm wearing this color today is just kind of being creative. It shows you who you are. has a person. So that's one unique cultural traditional aspect of the clothing side. For food wise, oh my gosh, I think everybody's known Vietnamese for pho, right? But don't be wrong on that, because like many of you, we have different regions. We have the northern, central, southern, and we have different dialects, different food by different regions. So the pho from the north side is different from the pho from the southern side, different taste, different flavor, different spice. So if you want to experience all that, you guys should all visit Little Saigon of Sacramento on Stockton Boulevard. There's a whole variety of that. So yes.
Yes, and putting a plug in on buying local and supporting our Asian American Pacific Islander local businesses. So stop by. We have so many in our Sacramento city, and Mai just put a plug in on Stockton. So if you want some good pho, definitely stop by in that area. You'll find lots of good pho and banh mi too. So lots of great food. James, please share, what do you wish other communities knew about your ethnic heritage, culture traditions, and special cuisines?
Thank you. We don't just export NFL players and wrestlers and pole dancers and halals. We are quite a unique Pacific Islander community. We're quite interdependent. Everyone, is raised by your auntie and uncle. You kind of don't really realize who really is your mom and who really is your dad, because you have, everyone lives in one home. And we grow up together, and it's not typical for a Pacific Islander to put our parents in a nursing home or things like that. They usually stay with us until they're done. Our culture is usually surrounded around a church. Everyone either belongs to a church, a temple, or if you're Hawaiian, belongs to a halau, a dancing crew. Everyone always sticks together. One thing that's unique in the Samoan culture is a lot of people, they know The Rock because he's half Samoan and half black. And he has a tribal tattoo. And in our culture, tattoos is part of the culture. They have meaning, they have significance. We don't just put them on. And we also have the tattoos that goes on our legs and goes around the whole body. They're not where you just go to the tattoo shop and I say, I'll take order 13. No, you have to earn it. It's not something you just put on. Our favorite dish in regards to the Pacific Islander Samoan community is we like our lau lau. You go to L&L's, you can get a lau lau. And a lau lau is just like a taro leaf, and there's coconut milk and steam. Or you can get it with pork, a little salt and pepper. Another thing we also like is raw fish. We like everything raw in the islands. Raw fish. And so the more fresh the fish, we have a secret. If you can smell the fish, it's not raw. But if you cannot smell the fish, it's very fresh. So you just put a little lemon and eat raw. And so that's just a little bit from our island.
Awesome. Thank you so much, James, for sharing that. And as I'm listening, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 5:28. I haven't had dinner yet. So thank you so much, James, for just really sharing the beauty of your culture and just some of the special cuisine as well. Asia, what do you wish other communities knew about your ethnic heritage, cultural traditions, and special cuisine? I know Ms. Baumwall shared a little bit, but would love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, I think for me, it's also acknowledging the fact that a lot of our Hmong folks are also undocumented and farm workers. And so I think that plays a lot into just how I perceived myself growing up, and also seeing how, where we stand as well with a lot of, as Ramon mentioned, with the farm workers alliances and whatnot. And so I think another aspect of it is, I guess, because I am, the younger generation, there's a lot of value of knowing our language, because that's our main source of really truly carrying on a lot of the traditions, and also speaking to our grandparents, and how much you can unfortunately lose when you were not taught it. And so I think I've seen that, I believe, with my younger siblings go to Susan B. Anthony, and I think it's really heartwarming to see when they're able to learn Hmong, and they're very proud of it too, even though they're nervous to speak it to my family. It's still very good and so valuable to have, to show that that their culture and language is valued at a very young age. And I think also acknowledging that, we will shift. Our cultures are shifting, right? And because it's going to look different from how my grandparents and my parents used it versus how I'm going to, if I'm going to, depending upon, cultural traditions like marriages, Hmong dancing, like opando and stuff like that, like sewing. It's going to be interesting because it's going to really bring up the topic of what does it mean to be Hmong American, and how we can collectively agree on that or whatnot. And I think for special cuisines, I think kind of going off of what Miss Moa said, it is bowl of chicken, like what's all like pepper and stuff. But I'm not gonna lie, I think growing up I was kind of confused what was Hmong food and what wasn't, just because I ate so many different kinds. But the main thing I knew that it was always, the process was sometimes very laborious but made with love. And I know that a lot of the Hmong women in my family worked together really hard, whether in the hot sun and hot weather and whatnot, because we would cook it outside with the propane tank and everything. That it was always made with love. And that's something I really value and appreciate because it just makes the food that much better. And so, yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Thanks, Asia, and so beautiful and so insightful. And you're absolutely right. Culture isn't static, right? It's always changing, right? How we are practicing it now may not be the way that, our family or our ancestor have practiced it. So really appreciate that from you coming from a younger generation. But I will also, you actually give us the leeway to the next question because you mentioned language and the importance of language as well. So this is supposed to be a fun question, but also really an opportunity to demonstrate the importance of language and recognize its complexity and beauty. So my question to all of you is, what is a word in your ethnic language that does not have a comparable English translation? What is it and what does it mean? So with that, I will start with Mai first.
Okay, since we're talking about food, I think there's two that came to my mind. One is the word "jea." Have you guys ever heard the word "jea" in Vietnamese? And a lot of it is they translate it as dessert. So dessert to me means cake and all that, but it's not in Vietnamese. It's more like the mung bean, and it's a sweet dessert, but there's so much variety. There's jello, there's mung beans, all sorts of beans, coconut milk. It doesn't sound good, but I'm telling you guys, it's delicious. It's phenomenal. So jea is one that comes to my mind. The other one is mắm. Mắm, the word mắm means, if you translate it, it says fish sauce. But no, mắm means it's a very exquisite taste, but it's a different variety kind of mắm, different variety of fish sauce. It has so much different flavors. And so there is no translation for mắm or jea. So since you got me started with food, those are the two that came to my mind.
That's awesome, Mai. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. James, would you like to share?
Sure. I forgot to do. I was looking at my notes. There was one more thing I forgot to share about our country. Samoa. There's two Samoas. There's Western. You need a passport to go to. And American Samoa, you as a citizen can go with your license. I forgot to mention they're two different. So one are citizen, one not citizen. But one word that I cannot. Hard to translate in Samoa is called falavelave, which is English. It's just we have to contribute money to everything, and so when you say the word falavelave, that means you have to pitch in. It could be grandma's sisters, aunties, cousins' funeral, but once your mom says, "Hey, we have a falavelave," that means contribute. You have to put 200. You get the money together. We send it. We probably never met that family together, but once your parent says, "Hey, there's a falavelave," you'll always see the head of Samoan go down, because that just means you just need to put a lot of money, put it in the envelope, and send it somewhere.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much for sharing. We went Ramel.
So I had a good time with this one, Maya, when you put that out there. I was asking all my cousins, "Hey, what do you think? What do you think?" So there's these two words that came up. There's one it's gigil, and it's like cutie, like when you see a kid with a chubby cheeks. But the one that I wanted to put out there was maarte, means like over the top, just like kind of vain, kind of detail oriented, kind of just like over the top. When somebody's like overreacting or those kind of things, they say maarte, right? So that means you're just all over the top. And so it was kind of fun, like kind of thing. Like when you just see somebody like a baby just like crying, like flopping down and go like that, that's what the parents say. Oh, you're being maarte, So that's those are the two words that I had.
Awesome. Thank you, Ramel, so much for sharing. Asia, is there a word in the Hmong language that you think don't have something comparable in English translation? What is it and what does it mean?
Yeah, this was kind of hard for me, but I guess it was more for like the meaning behind it. So it would be plu tahao. So I think, which is, I guess the rough translation would be to, I guess, like kind of just like pat your head. And I think for me,
we have a Hmong teacher here too. So go ahead.
Oh gosh, yeah. So I think it was mainly the meaning, because I've never seen it anywhere else, where my grandmother would do it a lot for me, and it's just a really gentle embrace usually for children and also the elderly. And I think that's something that I've carried along a lot with me, of just the gentleness of how like much love we have for each other in our community. And so I always feel very like just full and complete when I whether it be for my little siblings and stuff. And I think it's a really good reminder for me to always just be gentle and caring for like just life in general, and to not harm anything in its way. And so I think that's something that resonated a lot with me.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Asia. And Miss Moore, I had you be last because you teach at a Hmong immersion school. So is there a word in the Hmong language that does not have a comparable or comparable English translation? What is it and what does it mean?
My like Ramel, I search with this question. although I'm principal of a Hmong immersion program,
that's all right.
I searched and I asked everybody, my sisters, I asked my husband, I asked my teachers, and the only thing that I mean, there are a lot, but the one word, it's not one word, but it's kind of like a phrase, and it's danje, and so literally translated, it means yellow air, but that's not what it means.
Yes.
That is not what it means. It actually means pale, pale face. And so when someone is sick, or when someone is, not feeling well, they look pale, and you use the word danje. But, it was funny because when our 6th grade teacher did a skit with our students, and the one of them played the doctor, and the other one played the daughter taking the mom to the doctor. And so when she took the mom to the doctor, the mom was saying, well, pura danje, and the child was trying to translate, and she was using yellow ear, and she was using all different words, but it never really translated to pale.
Yeah, or she's not feeling well.
Yeah. So.
No, I think, Ms. Moore, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that is very common in a lot of our different languages in the Asian American Pacific Islander community. So thank you so much for answering that. It was supposed to be a fun question, but also I think a way to demonstrate just the beauty and the complexity of languages as well, right? In the Asian American Pacific Islander community. So thank you so much. So I have one more question before I close it out, because I know it is also dinner time, and I want to make sure that all of you get a moment to eat dinner with your family. But the last question that I have for all of you is, what are some meaningful ways our Sacramento community can recognize and celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month year-round? So what are some meaningful ways that you think the Sacramento community can do that? With that, I'll start with Asia.
Yeah, thank you. Oh gosh, I guess there's so many ways, but I think the first thing is to be very intentional with it, right? To really understand what it means to learn about AAPI folks, and to understand that we're a huge community, and to put in the work of educating ourselves. Because I think a lot of it, as we have all shared here, is that even if you are Hmong, there's or even if you're Filipino, there's so many dialects and coming from so many different areas. And then, of course, with colonization or wars, our people have gone to different areas of the world. And so I think the most meaningful way, as most folks would agree here, is that, is education, really informing yourself and start locally, right? Starting locally, knowing where a lot of the API folks and organizations are and supporting them and supporting the businesses. Because I think when you know and you build those relationships, you also help stand in solidarity with that, right? And I think that's so valuable to have, so we don't have to keep doing all the work and have to educate folks on who we are, but that we can all join each other. And I think that is one of the biggest takeaways for me in terms of recognizing and celebrating it and understanding that and uplifting our voices. Because I think a lot of the times, even in schools, when we're talking about underrepresented populations, a lot of AAPI folks are not listed in there at all statistically. And so I think it's always so important to uplift our API folks' voices and their intersectional identities as well, because we're not just API folks. Some of us are queer, some of us, have different disabilities. And so I think it's so important that we recognize these things and we really uplift them. And so we can have a constructive conversation that actually is anti-racist as well.
Yeah, no, Asia, thank you so much for always dropping knowledge. That is, if you were listening, I hope that you were taking notes. And if, this is live, but it's also going to be on our Facebook page, so you can watch it. If you are watching it, make sure to take notes, because Asia is always dropping down some knowledge. So thank you so much, Asia. James, what are some meaningful ways that our Sacramento community can continue recognizing and celebrating Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, not just this month, but all year round?
Sure, I think it's continue to engaging. I remember when Elk Grove elected their first Asian mayor, and then now we have Mai Yang on the Sacramento, and just getting our community more engaged on the local level or whatever different levels of government you can engage in. Elk Grove has quite an interesting way of engaging. They have this fair where everyone goes to the Elk Grove Park, and something like that the Sacramento can have. They even have a multicultural committee to be able to bring ideas from all communities. And for me, just to be able to have a voice at the table to continue to dialogue. I know for us as a Pacific Islander community, you only hear us when one of our Pacific Islanders are arrested or, Lord forbid something happens, then the community arises. But that's the only time we come. But how do we keep the conversation continue going? And that's by continuing to stay engaged, be involved in a lot of different local organizations.
Awesome. Thank you so much, James, for sharing that. Ms. Moa?
Well, I think, with this question, I think that the Sacramento community has already started and somewhat in that celebrating, AAPI heritage throughout the year. And one of those things is I want to bring to our attention that, I think it's those electrical cases along on the streets.
Oh yeah, the wrap.
Yes. That's that has celebrated. I mean, it's celebrating everybody, all AAPI, and so and then also I think that we can do a better job at advertising the different cultural events that are held by different groups within the AAPI heritage, so that everyone is learning more about that culture and just not their own. And then also I think the most important way I think is celebrating the education piece, because I do come from an education perspective. I feel that having that education piece is really important to educate not only our own community, but other communities aside AAPI communities. And like I said before, talking about maybe highlighting an AAPI group under that umbrella every month, and so that we are truly immersed in that culture and we're understanding what it is and what they've done to contribute to the fabric of what we call the United States of America, and instead of having the education be from watching a movie like Crazy Rich Asians, for that education piece. And so I think it's super important that we do start off with that education so that we understand what each group under that AAPI umbrella is all about and their contributions to the United States.
Thanks, Ms. Moore, for sharing that, and also for sharing the lens through an education lens as well. What are some meaningful ways the Sacramento community can continue to celebrate Asian Americans, Pacific Islander all year round?
Well, I think that for 2020, we've gone through quite a bit as a community, right? And I think that we're very fortunate being in Sacramento because we have so many different organizations. We're very diverse, all ethnic organizations. And I think the word that comes to my mind is collaborations. And I think through the collaborations and empowerment of helping each other, and for me, celebrating the AAPI it can be a daily thing. I think that just recognizing those that are vulnerable, meaning that a lot of our culture, I know for me personally growing up, we were taught to kind of like mind your own business, don't voice, don't bring trouble home. And so that was what was taught into us. But now it is more important than ever is to be able to voice, to be able to stand up for what you stand for. And I think that by celebrating the AAPI heritage, we not only celebrated in May, but also recognize, those that even for a gentleman that can walk the senior across the street, we can recognize those, share stories, share successful stories, uplifting. We have so many stories to share from 2020. Businesses that were nearly closing their doors, they went through quite a bit, but that took resilience. That took a lot of empowerment and help with the organizations and with the community. So my message is that, we are a community that cares. And I think that if we can continue to advocate for the Asian American community, I think we would be very strong as a community. So I think celebrating AAPI each day, and that just to remind us that, hey, we are strong and that we are resilient and we can overcome anything if we all can stand together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mai, for sharing that. And you're absolutely right. We are still in this pandemic, and our community, the Asian American Pacific Islander community, has endured so much. And so I really appreciate you uplifting that as well. Ramel, you are the last one to share as a vice president of a neighborhood association, right, in district as well. What are some meaningful ways the Sacramento community can continue to celebrate Asian American Pacific Islander all year round?
I think, it's important for us to know that even after this month is done, that in our meetings or in the things that we do daily, always ask the question, who's missing, right? And invite people that are different than yourselves to come to the meeting to participate. Sometimes all it takes is just one person asking somebody else to be involved. And so, look for the voices that are missing, especially in the AAPI community, because all you need to do is ask and they will be there. Right? Those are the kind of things. And I think look at the things that unite us together instead of looking at the things that divide us. And don't assume everybody else, that outside of this month, don't assume that everybody's not American, right? We're all Americans. So think about how you perceive some of those things and welcome people at the table so that the discussions can happen and we can make this community just even more diverse and more compassionate and caring for one another. And I think that's what's going to continue to do that. But we have to go outside of our box, right? You can't just sit and just say, okay, well, I'm good. I have a Hmong friend or I have a Filipino friend. That's great. But do you know them, right? Do you really know them? And do you get to know the culture? If it's food that gets you in, fine, eat away, but come on and ask questions and be part of who we are. So that's what you can do in any of the meetings that you're at, or if you see somebody not represented, ask the question and invite.
Awesome, Ramel. I think that is a really great advice. Just moving forward today and every day, right? Looking around and see who's actually missing and not at the table. So again, thank you so much to all of you, our amazing local leaders, serving, organizing, repping hard, heart and hustle for our community, our diverse community in South Sacramento. I'm so grateful to have all of you in the team Heart and Hustle Studio. But before we go, I just want to do a quick plug on a few things in our district as well. Y'all may have heard that we have a weekly vaccination clinic, a community clinic at the Sam and Bonnie Connell Community Center every Fridays, 9 o'clock. Please come by if you have not been vaccinated. If you know a loved one, a family member, a neighbor that needs a vaccine, have them stop by. We do appointments, or you can do we do walk-ins as well. So just want to put a plug in for that. Lastly, I think, how do we continue the conversation, right? Being vocal, showing up. And I want to share that in partnership with Asian American leaders and residents, myself from our council office, along with Councilmember Guerra, Jay Chenier, and Rick Jennings, we are hosting a series of anti-Asian hate community convenings. And at the conclusion of these convenings, there's 3 of them. We hope to have some community-led solutions that really acknowledge the experience of our Sacramento Asian American residents, and at the same time promote and uplift racial solidarity, right? And making sure that we center the lives of Asian Americans, but how do we also expand beyond that and have conversations with Latino community, the Black community, and their larger Sacramento community. So I want to make sure and invite all of you to that. My team will add the link as well. The first event series is actually happening next Wednesday, 6 to 7 o'clock. We will have simultaneously interpreters available as well in multiple languages. The flyer is in multiple languages, and so we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we get our community engaged and on. And so please do attend that. Again, we'll add the link to the chat below, or on the live chat as well. We'll make sure to share that as well. So again, thank you so much to each and every one of you, Asia, Ramel, James, Miss Moa. It's weird to call you Bao, you know, because you're principal, Miss Moa, and Mai. Thank you so much. That was so insightful. And I just want to say on behalf of Team Heart and Hustle, just thank you so much for your leadership and your heart and your hustle and your work on the ground, serving our Asian American Pacific Islander communities every day, every single day. We're so grateful to have you all as part of our community. And again, thank you so much for tuning in today, everyone. If you're watching live from home, eating dinner, please remember to wash your hands. Still wear a mask. If you're vaccinated, that's great. But, you know, physically distance still, because we have not yet reached herd immunity. So we got to do everything we can to make sure our community is vaccinated. And with that, I'm signing off, sending you all lots of love, and we will be connected soon. Oh, hold on. Actually, I have one more announcement, because we have so many events tomorrow evening as well. I'm having a joint town hall with Supervisor Patrick Kennedy. So come learn more about, you know, how we're partnering city and county partnership, what's happening around homelessness and COVID. Really love you all to also come and ask questions. Patrick Kennedy will be available, supervisor, and myself. It's a joint town hall, really inviting all of you to join us as well. I think that's it. We still have lots of events coming up in June, but wanted to make sure that I put a plug in for that. Thank you so much, Team Heart and Hustle, for putting that up on the screen as well. So yeah, lots of events. But I think that's it. So yes, signing off. Happy Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month to each and every one of you, all our panelists, and everyone watching from home, from your office, wherever you are. Happy AAPI Heritage Month. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, council member, and all your staff. Awesome.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.